Most of us don't struggle with performance anxiety to quite the level that demands actual therapy to manage. And there are a lot of techniques that can be employed, that can be used for helping us manage our performance anxiety. I recall for the first probably, oh my goodness, 20 years of my own ministry, and not just getting in front of people at Mass, but when I started performing more and working more in studio work, I found myself always having a sense of anxiety. There was a time that I couldn't eat before performances, that I was just too filled with anxiety to do that. And I've learned over the years how to manage that better. But it doesn't mean it doesn't go away. And I'll share a little bit of what I mean in that in just a minute. So let me go through a couple of strategies, a few different strategies for how to manage performance anxiety. The first of which is know your music. Practice until the mistakes go away. So number one, that means we embrace the mistake, right? We don't run from the mistake. We stop when the mistake happens and we analyze what's causing the mistake, and then we work to get through it. But nothing is going to help our confidence more than knowing our music. With my students, when I used to teach private instruction, I would tell my students to take 50 pennies and put them in a pile. And in the section or sections of music that cause you to err routinely, where you're making a mistake in the same spot over and over, to identify that section, maybe break it down to a measure or two, and play it once, and then move a penny from the big pile to another new small pile. Play it again, move another penny over. Play it again, move another penny over. Soon, you can do 50, 60, 70 reps, depending upon how many pennies you have. You can do that many reps very quickly to help you master that section. So there's nothing that will heighten your confidence more than knowing your music. Something else that really kind of eats away at our confidence and produces anxiety is some of the negative talk that happens within us. If we can identify those negative thoughts, stop, identify them, then challenge those negative thoughts with more realistic thoughts, and then visualize a positive outcome instead of being caught in that negative talk. And then, with greater preparation, take action to conquer what that self-talk is that's going on inside. You can work to change the perceived negative outcome from a less than perfect performance. This is another way of saying this is to learn to accept that a less than perfect performance is acceptable. We get really hung up on, especially those of us who are perfectionists, and boy, throw me into that category. We think that a less than perfect performance is just horrible and not suitable. Learning how to embrace a less than perfect performance, identifying what parts of that performance were really positive and good and strong, is helpful to moving forward. And you do this over time. And some of that, like that negative speak, starts going away. Some of the confidence builds up. You end up spending more time practicing the piece and embracing it. And slowly you begin minimizing that performance anxiety. Remembering that music is an art and it's not a science can be helpful. There's no such thing as a perfect performance. There can always be different elements to a performance that can make it stronger or weaker. There's no such thing as perfection in music. That's exactly what an art is what we feel inside expressed by what we do. And so musically for us, understanding that there's no such thing as a perfect performance can be extremely helpful to minimizing that performance anxiety. Understanding that we're not alone in our anxiety can be helpful. Meaning, when you're feeling isolated and by yourself in that performance, remembering that those around us also struggle. We all struggle. Everybody struggles to some extent with anxiety. And making mistakes in performance, learning how to manage those mistakes, I've learned that over the years, when I'm in a live performance, be it at church, be it in a concert setting, when I make a mistake, when there's something that I play differently than I expected or wanted, that's actually an opportunity in that moment to do something different than I've ever done, number one. And number two, to come out of that mistake so that something new and fresh is brought to the piece of music, so that the mistake goes away, it disappears and becomes part of something new and unique to that piece of music. I can almost guarantee that in any given song that I would play at church, first of all, there's never a song that I play exactly the way that I expect to play it or want to play it. But secondly, the mistakes that I do make, nobody hears probably 75% or maybe even as high as 80 or 90% of those mistakes that I make, because I've learned how to embrace the mistake and get out of the mistake and make it something better. Avoiding the comparison game can be helpful. Us musicians, we tend to be emotionally tender folk at times. And so when we see a better player than us, or we perceive a better player or a better singer being out there, our anxiety goes sky high. Avoiding that comparison game, not to compare ourselves with others who may have more talent than we have or more experience. So much of talent is supported by how much experience we have. And so just stopping yourself from doing the comparison game. You are worthy of whatever performance you're going to enter into at any given time. If you're well rehearsed, if you've given it the best you have, that's what you want to put forward. And comparing yourself to another player is not going to be helpful to diminishing your anxiety. Use fear as a motivator. Be careful, because too much fear can topple a performance. But having a little bit of a churn in your stomach, a little bit of heightened anticipation for your performance is not a bad thing. And actually, a small amount of that can heighten your performance and can make you play at your peak. The key is, again, managing that fear and not letting it get out of control. Before your performance, actually do some breathing exercises where you sit down, you breathe slowly, you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. This kind of mindful breathing can help us to relax, to diminish that anxiety, and to put us in a better position before we're going to go perform. And finally, and this is something especially for singers, find a friendly face out in the assembly, the congregation, or before you start playing. Make contact with somebody who's a friend out there, who you don't feel so alone in your circumstances with, but that you feel like, yeah, they're not right by your side, but they're connected with you, can really help us diminish some of that anxiety that we feel. So managing anxiety is the key. We all have it, and learning how to manage it is really, really helpful in what we do. Remembering all of us have some amount of anxiety that we bring. The more that we can manage that, the better we can use that anxiety for better performances.